let's take a look at Bitcoin and where we're looking at that right now. BTC plummets over the weekend. Really not that bad of a pullback. I mean, I think it probably went to 60K flat. As we sit here right now, Bitcoin is at almost 64 again. ETH at almost 3,100. It was at 2,900 just within the last 24 hours, I believe. So we've seen that pullback, and we've been expecting this for some time now. Not necessarily in like a capitulation candle after we see some war stuff over the weekend. Not to belittle anything that's going on, but just obviously all of the kind of grifters and political commentators are going to you're always going to hear World War III stuff. That's just what people do for clicks, obviously. But, we expected this either way. It's basically just that now this war thing is going to be the thing that they assign to all this happening and, pick a narrative to fit the chart. I think we would have got here at some point one way or another, even if it wasn't on one big dip. But I still think we're probably going to go a little bit lower. Again, you and I have been talking about it for some time, Ewok. But you can tell there's a lot of people that seem like they're experiencing their very first kind of crypto dip just with some of the reactions to this. So it does suck that war can be good for markets usually. It is just kind of one of those things. ETH bleeding further against BTC. I think it's down below 0.5 on the ratio now, or 0.05 or whatever that would be. So bleeding a bit. But yeah, what do you make of this move right now? Do you think we have more downside? And what do you think of how BTC is shaping up?
Yeah, I think it does take a little bit more. Not much, obviously. Like I said, the having doesn't always signify the bottom of whatever dip. It can be a couple days before, a couple days after, till the sentiment changes. However, the supply shock is a real thing. It's only going from 6.5 to 3.25, I think, on this one, or something along those lines, that get minted every block. So yeah, I could see a little bit more here. I saw something the other day about creating a CME gap. Again, I'm not sure where the gap is, because there's still a lot of things that when this went from 51 up to 63, I think there were a lot of gaps left in here, because this move happened pretty quickly. However, we've been there before, so they could have filled back here. Once you get into territories that are unknown and uncharted, like anything over 70, if it makes a quick run, you can almost always guarantee that it's going to pull back into that zone to fill those gaps that are created just for whatever reason, because the market moved past it, So yeah, I can see a little bit more of a pullback. I don't see it. I mean, it seems to have so much strength right now. Now the RSI doesn't really show that. It shows more of okay, it's going to go sideways, but there is a lot of room for a nice run up, though, when it's ready to go. So this is really kind of just showing a sideways movement that's about to happen. So it might not get below 58 or so. It might, it could pull back to here, I think, but it's just been so strong. And another thing that you've got to look at is this Bitcoin dominance. It's still 55.7% right now, and that's after the pullback. It was up to 57%, which is really high. It just means that the altcoins just have not had their turn quite yet. So, once this actually does flush out and we get the run, and people start, pivoting over into altcoins, and you see this start to head down, that's when, the fun begins for the ecosystems like ours, I think. But for now, I don't see it. I don't see it. It's been so strong. There's been a lot of things propping it up, and this move down, it really wasn't, it wasn't all that terrible. Even from here down 16%. So,
right.
It wasn't terrible. So when you're saying that you're seeing people that have never experienced a dip before, look out. That's not really, that wasn't that bad. And if they're freaking out after that, I do worry about people.
Yeah, not at all. That's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, I could definitely see getting back to 58, if not lower than that. And kind of taking a longer look through the rest of this year. We've had a lot of discussion lately because we are right here on the precipice of the Bitcoin halving. So it's like kind of make or break over the next few months in terms of seeing like what is the situation we're in. I mean, like we're in a bull market, that's clear, but what are the likelihoods of the left translated cycle, which more and more people are favoring? That because we are, and the only reason I think it's getting as much talk as it is because BTC already hit a new all-time high this year, which nobody expected to happen. So that would require getting back to business by probably 6 weeks from now, like late May, and really blowing off the second half of this year. I'm hoping that isn't the scenario. I think some doubts starting to creep in now that we've seen pullbacks from a lot of people, obviously. I would much rather see us, just kind of have this dead zone where BTC just kind of consolidates for a long time, and hopefully ETH can kind of close that gap a little bit. Like you said, Ewok, we do see more of an altcoin run. And that's not to say like that Bitcoin dominance, it's not to say that some alts haven't run. I mean, we did see like meme coin season
Sure.
galore, throughout Solana and everything like that. And I think what some of those people are going to be sorely mistaken about that are holding some of those bags still is like that was their part of this cycle. I don't think we're going to see, you and I have both. Well, everybody was singing the praises of Solana, like said that I think there's limited upside here for where it could really go this bull cycle. And I think we're going
Yeah.
to see that as things perk back up. And, why don't you speak for a minute too, Ewok, because you've seen this before in multiple cycles of like different seasons of things, not just
Yeah.
Bitcoin, but also like, okay, this sector pump, then that sector pump. And it's like this altcoin ecosystem, its bull market really may have topped at the beginning of the overall Bitcoin bull market. And then this other ecosystem, like Hex, for example, before peaked in September of 2021. So like much
Right.
later, so talk about the different timing of different ecosystems like that. And we'll in a little bit, we'll get to like Pulse Chain. Could it duplicate something like what Hex did and kind of be a laggard? But yeah, how
Yeah.
about like different ecosystems like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, they all take turns. There's not enough economic energy, I don't think, for all of them to run at the same time. So they all kind of take turns. It depends on each one has its own thriving, community that pumps things. And you can see here, Solana didn't even hit its previous all-time high. So,
No.
how far down will it go on this, and will it pump to that? It's possible. I think it could break its previous all-time high. It's strong enough that it's got enough community, but I don't know, I don't know how much higher it'll go. I know there's people out there talking about getting to $1,000. Um, yeah, I wouldn't bet on it, but
No, I wouldn't either.
I've seen crazier things happen when the money starts flowing out. Um, Crazier things have happened to different ones. I mean, you look at even Ave is still way, way down from its previous. So that one hasn't had any kind of chance yet. Like I said, they all kind of take turns. It's weird how it goes, and
Uh-huh.
everybody kind of picks a time or whatever to rally the troops. And yeah, I totally agree with you saying that Hex, Pulse Chain, those type of things. I think there'll be a trailing, a very lagging pump as far as the rest of the market goes. I think it'll be one of the last ones. RH is the type of guy that likes to talk numbers, likes to talk things, and say, "Hey, this thing's running now. This is one of the only things that's running now." And
Mhm.
I think it could just kind of light a fire and be one of the very last ones to pump before we head back into another bear cycle. Now, I don't think that'll happen until after 2025. So don't take that as it's already over type message, and we got to endure this whole thing again. That's not the case, but I think there's a lot of good to come. I think it's going to be sideways up, a bunch of stair steps for us anyway, till we get to where we need to be. But it's really going to depend on sentiment and how this Bitcoin market does play out. This is a different one, right? We've got the ETFs now, so
Mhm.
we'll see how it really takes off. And how quickly does it get to 100 grand? Does it even get to 100 grand by the end of the year? I don't know.
Right.
But that could really depend on how much money does pivot out and when into the alt markets. And if it goes that high pretty quickly, I could see things starting a little bit sooner than people anticipated in 2025 for some of our ecosystems.
Yeah, I think the higher that Bitcoin would go by the end of this year, the quicker we'll start to see things happen
Yeah,
in
for
2025.
sure.
But definitely not preferring the left translated cycle thing. I mean, hoping that maybe we just consolidate here as far as Bitcoin goes for 6 months, like in a certain kind of range, and then things really move up a bit at the end of the year, and then things look kind of like a normal cycle, like we're accustomed to seeing. So we'll see how that plays out.